Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from Red State dated March 24th. It says, big news! New study shows younger generation shifting sharply right. And all I can say is, there is hope for the youth. So, there's a nice picture for President Trump. Every now and then you run across something that gives you a little hope for the future. On this Manic Monday, one such item appeared in the form of a recent survey by the Young America's Foundation that shows our younger generation has a healthy skepticism about big government, and they are swinging to the right. That's good news. Oops, I went down too far. It says that's good news, and it's good news with possible generational benefits. It says in the wake of the 2024 election, which was made of young voters shift to the right, most notably among young men but also among young women, compared to the 2020 presidential election, the significant change in support among 18 to 29-year-old voters delivered a needed boost to propel Donald Trump to victory in every swing state, the Electoral College, and the popular vote. To better understand what Americans were driven by last November and what they expect now and in the immediate future, Young America's Foundation partnered with Echelon Insights to survey these 18 to 29-year-old voters. Excuse me, it says here are what the foundation describes as key takeaways. Sorry, deep breath. It says more young liberals voted for Donald Trump than young conservatives voted for Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election. More than half of young liberals said their views on social issues have shifted much more to the left in recent years. As young conservatives say their political views are informed by their own experiences, families, and religion, not being brainwashed by prominent influencers online. As in the wake of the 2024 election, young conservatives are emboldened and more likely than their liberal or independent peers to feel comfortable sharing their views. As the cost of living, jobs, and the economy remain the top concerns for young Americans. Says most young Americans feel the U.S. should have a role, albeit a minor role, in resolving the conflicts in Ukraine and between Israel and its foes. A plurality of young liberals, conservatives, and independents agree that the mainstream media cannot be trusted. Well, good. I'm happy about that one. It says most young people think the federal government needs significant reform. So 69% of young voters say it is unfair for the government to continue spending that adds to the national debt, a burden they don't want to be stuck with. And thankfully, those bottom couple there are being worked on right now as I record this. It says, what does this tell us? For one thing, all the Democrats' silly stunts in the 2024 election fell flat. Kamala Harris's many embarrassing attempts to make herself look hip, or whatever the kids are calling it these days, just didn't work. It's very possible that this was part of a really interesting find, that more young liberals voted for Trump than young conservatives for Harris, the bulwark's attempts to persuade them otherwise notwithstanding. It says 84% of young Trump voters said their vote was for Trump, while 15% said they chose him as more of a vote against Harris. Conversely, just 58% of Harris voters said they voted for her as the candidate, while 40% cast their ballots as a vote of opposition against Trump. Yeah, I kind of figured that would be a bigger number, because that's not at all surprising, as I said. Because in Kamala Harris, the Democrats chose a candidate who was the least likable candidate since Her Imperial Majesty Hillary I, Dowager Empress of Chappaqua, and the 2024 election results reflected that. It says, but here's the real kicker. Of the issues facing this country and their generation, young voters registered the cost of living as their biggest concern, followed by jobs and the economy. Notably, topics regularly exploited by the left, such as race relations, the environment, and abortion, were less concerning to young voters than things like political corruption, immigration, and taxes. Written many times about the difficulty our two young daughters have had in the Biden economy. They are still unable to buy a house despite being a 3-income household. Wow. Who's the third person? Okay. Unless their daughters are living together with there's a husband or boyfriend involved. Anyway, so they're at the upper end of their age range in this survey. 2 of our grandchildren are at the lower edge of this range, and they too are worried about eventually buying a house, even the one who's going to medical school. That's nuts. As the younger generation is, clearly, more concerned about the economy and the runaway scale and scope of government, which leads inevitably to corruption. These are the issues Donald Trump ran on in 2024. It says these are the issues. Why did it repeat that same thing here? It says these are the issues Donald Trump won. Okay. Anyway, it says there may well be another element besides the obvious one that Democrats seem incapable of working out that their problem isn't messaging, it's the message. Look at the prominent Democrats on the national level. The average age of Democrat congressional leaders can only be ascertained by carbon dating. They are quite literally yesterday's news, while being on the right may well be becoming the next big cool thing for the younger generations. It's the Democrats who are the man now, and those of us on the right are the cool kids, and that's a great thing to say. I would agree. And I understand the concerns of the younger group. I'm no longer a part of that, haven't been in a while. But glad to see that the youth is going to be okay. The kids are going to be all right. I like it. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.